We reacted to police discover a killer's hidden torture force. So let's see what this is about. Wait, I don't think y'all can hear. And I was right. You guys couldn't hear. Oh, here we go. Oh, man.
SO389 dispatch. I've located the body. The scene's about 50 yards on a trail.
This lone cop just discovered a dead body in the middle of the woods.
What is that? Sounds like it's heading this way.
5 feet from the knife, up the top of the body, carving the blood of the place.
10-4, signal 7. Please send another unit to my location.
What he doesn't know yet is that the lifeless man in front of him has been tortured for hours by the twisted man hiding in this very forest.
Whoever did this, that's fresh. There's a little eyeball right here. There's some creepy shit right here. Smell this right here. You don't smell gas right here? Yeah. Think they're gonna torch him?
I'm not sure what it is, but I've got movement east of my location in the woods. There's something moving around back this way.
He carries 3 or 4 knives on him. He thinks he's Rambo.
You're what? I'm just like a god.
It's December 23rd, 2022, and Officer Azure has just received a 911 call from a distraught man reporting that he's found his best friend's lifeless body in the middle of the Lake Jackson forest. Officer Azure, along with a group of first responders, quickly arrive at the scene.
That's my friend,
Okay, y'all stay right there.
Here they encounter Jamie, the 911 caller, and his best friend Robert, both of whom urgently want to show the officer where their dead friend is. Considering the serious circumstances, Officer Azure decides to follow Robert into the forest, despite being alone.
Messing my head so much.
389, I'm 10-12 with him. Just give me a minute. I'm 10-12 with 2. I'm heading down to take a look. 361, if you want to come down, and 56 with the EMS in the back. I'm headed down to the scene.
We're gonna go back that way, about 50 yards.
Okay.
50 yards. My watch over was good.
Yeah.
Knife was laying on the ground. There's no blood on it.
Did you touch the knife?
I did pick up the knife.
Okay. Well, we're gonna need to get fingerprints from you, okay?
No problem. I walked by the tarp, and you couldn't see James.
Okay.
And then Alan walked by the tarp and goes, "What's that?" And he picked the tarp up with his sticky on his hand, and James was laying there face down, and I dropped the knife and we left.
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna need to get a very detailed statement from you, okay?
Yes, sir.
Just because.
I understand.
Well, the thing is, I'm not accusing you of anything, but you have to be ruled out. You see what I'm saying?
100%.
At this point, the officer can't yet confirm Robert's story, but with a dead body reported, he has no choice but to push deeper into the woods. However, alone with a suspicious man he's just met and a killer who could be lurking nearby, the officer knows he must proceed with extreme caution.
You just hang on down right here for me, okay? Let me get up there and take a look. Which one?
Right here, plenty.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And then you please look in that back tent, please.
All right. Where's the knife?
The knife is on the left-hand side of him.
Okay.
There on the ground. He's got a white belt.
Okay. Just hang out there for me, okay?
So our cops gotta walk up.
Jamie was telling the truth. Wrapped inside the tarp is the body of James Layden-Decker. He's lying naked in a pool of his own blood, covered in cuts and scrapes. Realizing the severity of the situation, Officer Azure immediately instructs Jamie to head back while he investigates further. That's when Officer Azure begins to hear some unsettling noises.
This shit's scary, bro.
I'm not sure if it's a person or I'm not sure what it is, but I've got movement east of my location in the woods. Sounds like it's heading this way.
I'm shooting anything I see. Fuck that.
Hey, LT.
Fortunately for Officer Azure, backup arrived just in time, providing some relief from whatever might have been lurking in the forest.
There's nothing for y'all to check. He's cold to the touch. All right, we got knife right here, body here, tents, whole camp spread up back here. We've also got one outstanding.
What the hell are you talking about?
There's 2 people who live in this camp,
And one's not here?
and one's outstanding at the moment.
Did you find the knife?
Yeah.
I got a knife right here.
There's no blood on it, huh?
Well, there's something right there, but hey, did you still got those 2 guys 10-12 up front?
Yeah, they're standing there waiting for us.
Good, because one that led me back touched the knife, so we need to get his prints and a statement off him. The other one touched the tarp. They found out what was going on and they took off. I checked the camp and he's the only one back here.
Well, I got the name of the person that he was arguing with at 5 or 6 o'clock.
Yeah, so, and I've got what looks like maybe his clothes right over there. So he's naked and there's some clothes right there on the fire.
As medical staff arrives and examines the body more closely, they observe a brutal manner of death, blunt force trauma to the head, strangulation, and something even more disturbing, gasoline, found in James's lungs and stomach. Detectives are left with a burning question. Why would a victim have gasoline inside him? However, this would be only one of the many disturbing details officers uncover at the scene.
Hey,
Trauma
Seth,
to
take a
the
look at this
head.
for me.
And he got gas in his insides.
What is that? Is that just soot weared off on that, or? I mean, it looks awful shiny.
Where he has been stabbed, just from what I can see. But he is butt naked, face down on a tarp with his upper torso covered, so definitely not. And definitely somebody put him here. So I don't know what his face looks like. If he was stabbed in the neck or the face, the blood may be hidden by the tarp. I'm not seeing any obvious blood. Apparently the witness picked up the knife, and the knife has like a rope string around it. Oh, there's blood on it. Yeah, the tarp's brown, but there's blood all over the tarp, like blood splatter.
It looks like, he was moved post-mortem. You can tell by the way he was dragged.
Oh, he's got his fucking leaf in his ass crack.
Yeah. That's hollow down below, you see that?
Yeah. That's crazy.
Almost looks like a carbon odor. Missing the
Said he
wire.
had a leaf in his ass.
Artistic.
Smell gas.
Smell gas?
Oh, they had to cut that with a chainsaw, right? And it looks like,
You smell gas right here.
yeah.
By now, officers were certain they had a murder on their hands. The injuries to the body, the bloody knife, and the presence of gasoline all point to one thing. This wasn't just a killing, but a calculated act where the victim had likely been tortured for hours. With this in mind, officers would return to question Jamie, the man who had originally called 911, and what Jamie reveals would soon lead investigators directly to the killer. But before we continue, it's worth noting that Trevor Worth forgot you having the people QR in. Officers were about to speak again with Jamie, one of the eyewitnesses, and he would provide them with their biggest lead yet.
So I heard arguing and stuff.
Arguing.
So I go through the woods, go to this camp.
So you
I
left.
all back to the camp because,
Right.
homeless people argue all the time about dumb shit. It's been a while now, and I haven't heard anything from James or anybody over there. So I go over there to me and my friend that's with
The other
Officer
deputy.
now. Go over there, right? So when I walk, get to a certain point, I see a tarp laying there beside this tree, which is never there. I
And
flip over,
inside
the
is-
tarp is I don't even know if it's James or.
All right. Well, we're gonna get it figured out, okay? Do you know James' last name? Do you know James' last name?
Didn't.
No.
I'm talking about the person who did this,
36
because I know who it is. Dusty McDonald. That lives right up. He just got the complaint this morning. Man come down there with a
yeah.
hatchet.
Damn.
threatened him,
Let him
shot
right to the
shit
guy.
up. Called it in, sheriff's department. They come over, they talked to him, they told him that they're gonna go over and talk to him and just stay away.
And James is the one who called.
ma'am.
Who called this morning? Rick. Okay. Do you know
Rick
Rick's
is
last
the one
name?
who stays there.
Okay.
No, ma'am, but Rick is the one who
Rick.
stays there. James is a friend of everybody's, but
So
he
I
was
should be
staying
able
up
to
there with
find them
Dusty.
by his name.
According to Jamie, a man named Dusty McDonald had attacked another man, Rick, with a hatchet earlier that day. Police were called but were unable to locate or confront Dusty at the time. While this incident was concerning, it wasn't enough on its own to establish Dusty as a primary suspect. Until nearly every
This dude is
witness
a
interviewed
menace.
pointed to him as well. Eventually, officers had gathered enough statements to justify bringing Dusty in for questioning. All they needed now was to find him. As police began searching for Dusty, other officers on scene would sit down with the two 911 callers to piece together a timeline. According to them, the day had started with unsettling signs that something was off.
Okay. We both went down there. We live right here. We wanted to go check on our family. He's wrapped up in a tarp.
Okay.
Sir,
We came back
I
and called
heard
and told him.
arguing earlier, right?
We know who was down there, sir.
Arguing.
Okay.
So I walked down through the woods. I seen Dusty have James on the ground. He was saying, you shouldn't talk shit about this, that. You know what I'm saying? I heard, like, oh, they just getting shit out, you know what I mean? But I never hear nothing from over there no more. I'm like,
You know Dusty's real name or?
Dusty McDonald.
Did you say that James called them today and said, hey,
Nope, Rick.
oh, Rick called.
Rick.
And said,
James was there.
when
Both
Dusty
of
went
us
over there and cut
That's
his tent,
Rick's
with a
camp.
Cut him up,
machete?
threatened with a machete,
Yeah.
cut his tin up,
Yep.
all kind of shit.
They called the police. I was there
Yep,
for that. I
called
was
the
there for
police,
that.
made a report, and the police just said, stay away from him. There's a tarp laying beside a tree that's never there, because I live here, and I took the stick and went. When I flipped it up, I seen legs.
Based on these witness accounts, officers now have a fairly detailed picture of what likely unfolded just hours earlier. They also have a lead suspect, Dusty McDonald, a name one of the officers happened to be familiar with.
See? Anybody use all that.
His name, but Dustin McCormick.
Yeah, Dusty.
Dusty,
Yeah, that's wicked.
supposedly general in some militia, come down there this morning with a machete and started hacking up some of the tents because so he wanted to clear the area. Said he's a Signal 20 and off his meds.
They said Dusty. They said Dusty's the one that's outstanding. Yeah, they said this guy Dusty left from over here like later in the evening.
By now, it was clear Dusty had likely been involved in the murder, and with Jamie and Robert's statements in hand, police began piecing together the sequence of events leading up to the brutal killing. Earlier that day, Rick, another man who lived at the camps, had called 911 claiming a Dusty McDonald had slashed his tent with a machete while searching for a man named James, even threatening him in the process. Later that afternoon, Dusty managed to find James, and witnesses reported hearing arguing from the camp. When they checked to see what was going on, they saw Dusty on top of James, wrestling and yelling. It didn't appear to be anything more than a heated argument, so they returned to their camp. However, hours would pass, and nobody had heard from James. Robert and Jamie began to worry and decided to go looking for him, and that's when they found a blue tarp covering James's lifeless body. Nearly all witness accounts lined up perfectly with this timeline of events, making the next step for officers clear: arrest Dusty and bring him in for interrogation. Fortunately, since officers had begun the work of locating him earlier that day, they already had Dusty's address. Soon after, they surrounded the house, ready to move in.
I don't know if that's him, but there's somebody.
Sheriff officer, put a knife down, man. Come on out. Come on out. Come on out.
I don't have anything in my
Okay,
hands.
come on.
Please, I don't
Come on.
have anything in my hands.
Come on out.
I'm right here, sir.
Come on out.
Dude, I'm right here.
Dusty.
Okay.
Dude, yeah.
Turn around, put your hands behind your back.
Dude, the man just tried to light me on fire, dude. Y'all know what happened down there. That man tried to light me on fire, man.
Oh, so he already snitching on us. So, yep, they got him. GG, they already got him. That man tried to put me on fire. Yeah.
I'm not even on him, sir. Look at there. I'm not armed at all, sir. Sir, I am just...
Now you got life.
And nothing tried to murder me down there and light me on fire.
Dusty's behavior would be bizarre from the start, immediately insisting that James tried to set him on fire and that the officers, quote, already know what happened down there. Whether he's trying to claim self-defense or is just completely unhinged is anyone's guess.
Sorry, walk this way, man. Yeah, dude. Sorry, you know what happened down there.
That's what we're trying to figure out.
Dude, the man tried to light me on fire as I came.
Okay, just listen.
Okay,
We've got one side.
Okay.
That's why you need to come with us, okay?
I'm coming.
I know you are.
With the supposed killer in custody, officers concluded the disturbing on-scene investigation and began preparing for interrogation. If Dusty was their killer, given what had been done to the victim's body, it pointed to someone deeply disturbed. That suspicion would soon be confirmed. By now, Dusty had already raised serious concerns. He had slashed Rick's tent and threatened him. On top of that, multiple witnesses had just reported seeing him argue with James hours before the murder. However, despite how clear things seemed, there was one major complication. Dusty was claiming self-defense. He alleged that James had thrown gasoline on him and threatened to set him on fire. This wasn't a claim detectives could easily dismiss, especially given the distinct smell of gasoline at the scene, meaning there was a possibility he could get away with his crime. Even though it's clear who's behind the murder at this point, Dusty's story now carries a shred of credibility. Detectives have one goal: to break that story, either by disproving his self-defense claim using witness statements, or, ideally, by getting a confession. Either way, the investigation is about to get a lot more complicated. To move forward, detectives start by bringing in people from the encampment who knew Dusty well and interacted with him regularly. If Dusty had a pattern of violent behavior, these individuals were the most likely to have seen it firsthand.
My goal here is to kind of get, from your perspective, kind of what you saw, what you heard.
He ain't really been fucking with me at all. I ain't never had no crosswords. He's always insistent, oh, come up there and do your laundry and all that shit, you know. Come up there and get a shower. That's what it was. Come and get a shower. Come get a shower all the time.
You could just tell this dude right here, he been through it, man.
Give him $2 afterward, you know.
At Firestone Complete Auto Care, we hold our service to the highest standard. That's why we have thousands of expert ASE.
Chester?
Rick explains that Dusty often offered showers and laundry to homeless individuals in the area, sometimes charging a small fee. This catches the attention of detectives. These seemingly generous acts may be a part of a larger pattern of manipulation, a way for Dusty to assert control over the homeless community. It's a detail that could support their efforts to build a stronger case against him.
I tried my best to get along with him. You know, he had a shower that we all used, you know, sometimes try to keep him good with him for those reasons and stuff, you know.
Yeah, I get that.
Never, my wildest dreams that I think he was capable of murdering, that's the honest truth. I was just over there basically using his necessities like we all were when we had a chance to, you know, shower, usually offered it. That's his way of making friends with us, I think. I had stayed with him before and he kicked me out. I thought I was in a light, so I was taking pictures of him and stuff like that with my phone. I didn't even have a phone, you know. Like, I saw you taking pictures of me with your phone. I said, I don't even have a phone. He said, you gotta go. So I left. That's that.
Dusty lives in a house near the homeless camps, a property owned by his grandfather. At first, much like Rick, Busby describes Dusty as someone who seems generous, allowing members of the homeless camp to use his home for basic amenities. As investigators continue interviewing members of the homeless community, a more troubling picture of Dusty begins to emerge. He has a history of strange and violent behavior marked by paranoia and delusions. However, officers face a challenge. The interviews so far have been too vague, highlighting patterns of behavior but lacking concrete details to build a solid case. This leads detectives back to Jamie, the original 911 caller and the person with the clearest recollection of events so far, and he's able to offer meaningful insight into who Dusty really is.
Mr. Allen, my role here in all this, it's just kind of to get from your perspective, your side of things, what you saw, what you observed.
Man came to my camp last night. I used to stay up there with him. He's a violent person.
Okay.
His papa was the one who let me stay there because he's the one who owns the property. The reason I don't stay there it's because you don't do what he says, then he gets all angry and threatens you, and he just crazy shit. I said, well,
What does he usually carry?
he had a stick this time, but he's either got a stick, a machete, or knife. He carries like 3 or 4 knives on him, machete, sticks. He's like he thinks he's Rambo.
While Dusty had a reputation as a bully who routinely harassed the homeless community, no one expected his behavior to escalate to cold-blooded murder. His so-called generosity, offering his home for showers and laundry, masked a deeper need for control and manipulation. The same people he claimed to help were also the ones he intimidated and threatened, revealing a warped sense of power and superiority. In the end, this contradiction may have set the stage for the gruesome murder. When Dusty was brought in for questioning, his demeanor was strangely calm. At this point, he seems to believe that he is seen as a victim of an attack by this homeless man. He didn't seem like he was in his right mind.
You already know this dude a
all.
weirdo. Look at what he has on his feet.
Of an attack by this.
He most definitely did the murder, bro. Dudes that does this, bro.
Homeless
He most
man.
definitely
He
did
didn't
this
seem
murder,
like
bro.
he was in his right mind at all. Detectives were
Trying to
hoping to learn about
manipulate,
Dusty's side of the
threaten
story,
him.
but instead were met with, well, a lot of nonsense.
You know I'm an owl, right?
You're what?
You know I'm an owl, right?
Okay.
You know what that means, right?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, thank you. Golly. Thank you. This
Oh,
has been
yeah, do that.
this has been a really hard day. Sir, I waved all right a long time ago. You know, I still have a great sense of innocence within me if it ain't obvious to you this time.
Throughout his interrogation, Dusty's responses are filled with incoherent delusions and deflections. In Dusty's mind, he's, quote, an owl, constantly watched, monitored, and under surveillance. It's clear that without his medication, his schizophrenia is spiraling out of control.
And I'm handling it remarkably well. If Jesus, man, that was some crazy shit, man. And to still be able to get us some usable intel, you know, you'll get why staying at that place is so dangerous for me. I know a lot of trust is getting to me or like that, but man, thank you for saying you'll be able to talk about this.
Dusty seems to believe he's outsmarted the cops, thinking he's there to provide valuable intel as the victim. But he will soon find out that he's actually a suspect in the cold-blooded murder of an innocent man.
I haven't shed a tear all day, you know, I've been going hard, you know.
I'm just getting weird vibe from him.
But this kind of work, not very long. That was my first. I think everybody knows that from the get-go. You know, thank you for this deep psychological support. It's helping a lot. Good.
Listening closely to Dusty's words, it seems as if he's openly admitting to the murder. Although his statement is scattered and unclear, it gives detectives the impression that he's acknowledging responsibility without fully grasping the seriousness of his actions. But Dusty's bizarre admissions wouldn't stop there, as he continues rambling incoherently.
I was brushing and then he throws that gasoline on me because you saw how I was rolled up and down there. Dude, I thought I was just doing it for the other. You know what I mean? Because that was my intention. Everybody knows that. I then managed to hit that Neo UI and come out like that. I don't know how I do it sometimes. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, when I'm just experimenting in the house with blades, like before back when I took the butcher knife and threw it in curved on it. Like, I mean, shit, I don't know how I do it, sir. I just know with my beautiful mind that it's a three-way. Yeah. You know, it's the photographic, the audiogenic intake, and then the lovingenic. Yeah. You know, if y'all don't ever think I'm so amazed that I'm just like, God. Man, I never thought it would be something like that, but my God, what that thing was.
While Dusty's ramblings could be interpreted as an admission that James was his first murder, the statement is buried in a mix of delusions about retinoids, his photographic memory, and other incoherent claims. The detective picks up on this and pushes further, trying to separate fact from fiction in Dusty's fractured account.
For me to verify everything that I
Yes, sir.
can see elsewhere, I'm trying to. I know you're not mad at me. That's just, I don't want you to think I'm asking
So
questions.
many others, like, think my personality is, I can't talk to people.
I can do it.
Yeah.
But I don't want you to think I'm being an expert.
I am very relieved that we were having this conversation.
Dusty claims he's not mad and that people don't understand how he communicates. This shows he might have a twisted view of himself, possibly because of paranoia, delusions, or mental illness. What's strange is how calm and relieved Dusty seems. Most guilty people would be nervous or scared during an interrogation, but Dusty is different. He seems to still believe he's the victim and doesn't grasp the seriousness of his actions. Instead of taking responsibility, he thinks people just don't understand him. This becomes even clearer when Dusty asks one final question to the detective.
Will I be able to go home?
I'm going to figure that out.
Yeah, because am I going to jail or we're going down to dance?
We're going to have to figure that kind of out because you know how this thing kind of goes from here.
I guess.
I'm going to come talk to you about it. Just look, okay?
After this bizarre exchange, the detective had heard enough to know it was time to wrap up the interrogation. Dusty's lack of remorse and distorted grip on reality made it clear they were dealing with someone who didn't fully understand the weight of his actions. According to the pathology report, the victim, James Ledendecker, was subjected to horrific torture before his death. His body showed severe blunt force trauma, including cuts, bruises, and fractures to his face, nose, ears, and mouth. His eyes had severe bleeding, and many of his teeth were broken. The injuries also
Teeth broken, eyes bleeding. Bro.
Eyes had.
It says multiple facial and tooth fractures. Extensive. How do you pronounce this? Lacerations of the oral cavity, focal subdural, and hemorrhages of the brain. So it was a lot of hitting in the head. Probably gouging the eyes, probably taking teeth out, bro.
Severe bleeding, and many of his teeth were broken. The injuries also extended to his neck, with heavy bleeding in the muscles and a broken hyoid bone, suggesting he had been strangled. His torso displayed several broken ribs, and internal bleeding was found in his chest and abdomen. One of the most disturbing details from the report was that James had been exposed to gasoline. His skin had begun to slough off in areas, and a strong smell of gasoline was found on his arms, thighs, and hands. Gasoline was also detected in his lungs and stomach, indicating he had inhaled and swallowed it before he died. This made the murder even more gruesome. Dusty was processed for forensic evidence and transported to the Leon County Detention Facility. The witness statements, his vague confession, and the forensic evidence from the scene were enough to formally charge him. Dusty McDonald was charged with 1 count of first-degree murder, and as of this video's upload, his case remains ongoing.
Wow. Bro, this dude, just give the man a life sentence, no possibility of parole. End it there. RP James, man. I'm sorry you had to go through that, man. But see you on the next one.